Sheffield United are another team who have had a poor start to life in the EFL Championship, finding themselves currently bottom of the table, which is absolutely dreadful for them. Now, they have picked up one win, but over the course of the 9 games, they've lost 8 times so far. A change of manager from Ruben Sellés to Chris Wilder is hoping that they can turn the tide, but ultimately, will they be able to? Now, obviously, there's lots of discussions that can go on in regards to Sheffield United, and you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts down below, but shall we get into it? Now, Sheffield United currently find themselves 4 points away from safety, which does find themselves up against a team by the name of Blackburn Rovers. Now, above them, they have Sheffield Wednesday and Oxford United before they can even think about survival, and it's going to be interesting to see if they do have the ability in order to deal with themselves. Now, obviously, it has been a tough start to life. They don't really have goal scorers, and ultimately, they have been very, very poor. They've got a minus 13 goal difference. They've conceded 16, scored 3, and only have 3 points on the board. Now, as you can probably tell from recent videos, we're going to take a look into all the numbers behind Sheffield United and their start to the season. And it's going to tell you exactly why they are where they are, in my personal opinion. Now, their foot mob rating over the course of the season so far sees them at 24th with a 6.45. They have the least goals per game with 0.3, and they've conceded in the 22nd rank of a 1.8 per game, which is absolutely dreadful. Now, in terms of possession, they're not even that bad in terms of possession. They find themselves 6th with 55.8. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. They're in the same region as Derby County when it comes to expected goals, shots on target, big chances missed. They're in a terrible position. They're not really creating chances. The ones they are creating, chucks them in the bin essentially, and they're not putting it in the back of the net. And when it comes to touches in the opposition box, they're actually quite high. They find themselves 5th in the division with 230. Now, don't get me wrong, that is nearly 100 away from Coventry City, but it's only 3 away from being 2nd in the league. Now, for me, I was very surprised looking at these numbers because realistically, they're not actually that bad off in terms of those numbers. They've had 67 corners, which is the most in the division. In terms of obviously touches in the opposition box, they're in a great position with 230. They have 3.7 accurate crosses, which isn't great. But the problem that we find is when you look at the big chances, they've had 13 so far this season, but they've missed 11 of them. And that, for me, is where the problem is. Now, I don't think their squad is that bad. You look at players that they have in their forward line. I think Tyrese Campbell, Danny Ings, Louis Barry, Thomas Cannon, very, very good players. You look at a player like Gustavo Hamer, again, I believe is a very, very good player. You go then to the midfield, you've got O'Hare, you've got Sidey Peck, Tom Davis. I think they're all good players. And even you look at the back line, they've got Tanganga, Ben Mee, they've got Mark McGuinness. Like, I don't think they have a bad team at all. So I'm really unsure as to why they've found themselves in the position that they have found themselves in, because for me, they should not be in a position where they're sitting at the bottom of the table. But ultimately, it just shows that Ruben Sellés has not been able to put this squad together for me. And do I think that Chris Wilder can turn it around? Absolutely, 100%. I think everybody with a brain has seen what Chris Wilder has done for this football club, and in my opinion, I don't believe he ever should have been sacked. Now, obviously, that is an opinion. Everyone will have theirs, and that is completely fine. But for me, I don't think he ever should have been sacked. What were they? Playoffs last year, really unlucky not to get promoted, and then you go and chuck him to the wayside. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that they wanted to get promoted. They wanted to do things like that. But ultimately, in order to do that, you've got to give a manager a chance. You've got to give a manager time. And I personally believe that they didn't really do that in terms of Chris Wilder last season. And I think that he would have been able to get them promoted this year had he started the season, had the transfer window and things like that. A player who I know for a fact Chris Wilder would have gone and bought in to Sheffield United is Ollie McBurney. And he's had an absolute tremendous start to the season at Hull City. I think he's currently sitting as your top player in terms of goals scored in the Championship this year. And I think that just speaks volumes of the quality that is going on with Ollie McBurnie. A very, very good striker. He 100% would have gone back to Sheffield United as well. But ultimately, the problem that faced Sheffield United was they had a manager that didn't know McBurnie. And ultimately, in my opinion, that is the reason why he went and ended up joining up with Hull City instead of rejoining Sheffield United. Because for me, that is the situation. When you don't really know the manager and things like that, you can take a chance at going somewhere else for me. And that is something which I do believe that McBurnie did do. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. I imagine there will be some Sheffield United fans potentially watching this video. And I do believe that should Sheffield United have signed Ollie McBurnie, I personally do believe that they would have... they would be in a much better position right now, because I think their biggest problem has been putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think you could say that for pretty much every team in this division that is down there towards the bottom. Like, you look at the teams at the bottom, it's 3 goals, 8 goals, 10, 7, 11, 11, 14, 11, 8, 14, 8, 8, 10. That's your bottom half. Now, I'm not saying that you've got to score goals to be at the top of the division, but ultimately, if you can't score goals, you're not going to win games. And that is the harsh reality of football, unfortunately, and that is the situation that Sheffield United find themselves in. Unfortunately, they can't put the ball in the back of the net, and that's what Chris Wilder has to change. Luckily, he's just in the middle of an international break where I'm pretty sure the vast majority of his squad is still with him. So hopefully he can deal with that. If he can't, then he'll be the next one on the chopping block. Now, you can obviously give me your opinions on this. I do think it's an interesting discussion to have in regards to Sheffield United and things like that, because realistically, they were one of my favourites for the top 6 this year. But am I surprised that they've dropped off? Yes, I am, to be fair. I really liked Ruben Sellers. I thought he was a really, really good manager. And for some reason, it just couldn't get going at Sheffield United. And I'm not really sure why. And that's sort of the problem that is facing managers these days, is sometimes the fit just is not right. And I think that was the case with Sellers and Sheffield United. I think he had all the right ideas, all the right principles, but ultimately I felt like doing that at Sheffield United probably wasn't the way to go. They're very much a hard-working, rough and tugged team, and ultimately the problem that has faced them over the course of this season so far is that they've not really had that fight, in my opinion. Now, obviously, everyone will have their own opinion on that, and that is completely fine. But for me, I just don't think they've been the Sheffield United that we all know and have appreciated over recent years. You look at that team that nearly got themselves into Europe just a couple of years ago in the Premier League, and this is not that team anymore, unfortunately, and it is very, very disappointing to watch. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Check out all my other channels linked down in the description. If you want any sporting goods, check out Kitbag, check out NordVPN, and check out Loaded, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.